Hey there, my name is Meredith Turney, and I am a coach, consultant, and teacher for organizations, companies, employers, and employees on how to bring more conscious leadership to work. I believe the future of work is more freedom and abundance for everyone, especially virtual work. So, my newsletters, videos, and trainings are focused on helping you provide conscious leadership to your team and find passion in your work. In this video, we're going to talk about the 5 keys to success for remote workers. So the coronavirus breakout has really triggered drastic changes in behavior for employers and their teams all around the world. What we're seeing is the largest work from home experiment that we've ever seen in modern history. So while this may be a new experience for many employees, it will most likely become a new reality because it's based on the future of work and where we're going. Now, as the economy moves towards more service-oriented work, there will be less need for commuting to offices. And the current health crisis is just the beginning of this trend towards more remote work. But the transition from office-based work to virtual positions can be challenging for both the employee and the employer. But thankfully, there are experienced coaches like me who can help employers, employees, and entrepreneurs establish the systems and structures they need for remote work success. So without further ado, here are the 5 keys to success for remote workers making the transition from an office. Number 1, create clear employer expectations. What does that mean? Well, just like you would in an office setting, it's really important to understand what your employer expects. Do they want you to be available during office hours for team calls or video conferencing? What time zone do they want you to be in? Do they want you to acclimate to East Coast time, Central time, or maybe they're in a different country entirely in a totally different time zone? What kind of deadlines are they going to set for your projects? These are all conversations that usually happen in person in an office, but in a remote setting, they really have to happen intentionally. And clear outcomes must be established so that both the employer and employee can be at ease about what to expect, especially when it comes to desired outcomes for the employee's work. So that's number 1. Number 2 is develop a healthy schedule and system. You know, one of the most difficult parts of transitioning from working from home to transitioning to working from home is really setting healthy schedules and systems. At an office, you know when you're expected to walk in the door, you kind of know what meetings you're going to have during the day, who you're going to interact with. You have those routines that are set up in an office, and it really holds you accountable in the workplace. In a remote environment, those rituals and habits, they need to be created. And that's without the watching eyes of employers or teammates around. So really establishing a daily schedule will help you stay motivated and stay on task. And it will help get you in the zone like it would in an office place. You know, at home, we might only have a 2-minute commute from the bedroom to your home office, and that might not be sufficient for you to help make that daily transition to your work mode. So for some people, creating that transition means waking up at the same time as they would if they were to drive to an office. But instead of that usual commute, they're going to do something like journaling or going for a run or something that kind of helps them transition from their home mindset to the office mindset. Making sure you also get up, shower, get dressed like you would for a work day. You could be a little more casual than usual, but just something that helps you make that transition. And your calendar can also help you establish healthy systems for managing workflow and productivity. For example, calendaring time for deep work balanced by your daily phone calls or video conferences is really important. And you're going to find what works for you when you're working from home. So that's number 2. Number 3, set strong boundaries at home. One of the common yet very inaccurate stereotypes about remote work is that people are just sitting around in pajamas all day playing Call of Duty and not really producing much, just enough to make it seem like they're working. And you know, sometimes there are people that do that. But in reality, most remote workers struggle with overworking. They don't draw a very clear boundary between office hours and home life. So yeah, it's great to throw in a load of laundry in the wash between conference calls or take a mid-afternoon gym trip. But many employees struggle with guilt. They feel like they have to always be on, and they really have a hard time shutting off the laptop, shutting down the phone in the evening, and acting like they're really at home with their family. So it's really important to treat your remote office like you would an office. And it can be as simple a ritual as just closing your office door, your home office door at 5 p.m. every day. And it signifies that boundary you're setting between your home office and your home. So that's number 3. Now on to number 4. Number 4 is a very key concept. It is over communicate. So there's so much that's lost in communication when people aren't face to face or passing each other in a hallway at the office. Subtle voice inflections, facial expressions, energetic shifts. And the only way to really overcome that challenge is to intentionally over communicate. And that means instead of expecting others to just know things because they heard it in the hallway, you really have to explicitly convey it. Your coworkers and managers can't tell if you're having a bad day simply based on your face or your energy level. You may need to explicitly tell them, hey, I'm having a hard time and I need some help here. So you're really going to have to focus on conveying how you're feeling or what you're thinking, especially in a remote setting. Even using an emoji on your Slack channel is a step in the right direction. And just never assume that others understand the information you're conveying. Find out how they need to be communicated with, and then be very clear and direct. Some people need a phone call, some people need it in writing. You'll figure out those patterns with your team. And there are so many tools you can find right now that can help you with this. It's just a matter of finding the right platforms for you and your team to communicate effectively in a virtual environment. So that's number 4. And number 5 is to prioritize self-care. This is very important, especially when you're first starting to work from home. Human beings are inherently social. We enjoy water cooler socializing that takes place in an office setting. And one of the drawbacks of remote work is the lack of in-person human interaction. It's important to know what kinds and how much socializing you need to maintain mental health. And for some, that may mean establishing a daily Zoom call with a coworker just to check in and talk. For others, it may mean, when all of this coronavirus stuff is over and we're getting back to more of a semblance of a normal life, maybe going to a co-working office once a week or sitting at a favorite coffee shop for an afternoon, whatever helps you get that connection that you need. Some people prefer to be totally engrossed in the work that they're doing during the day. I tend to be one of those people. I don't like to have all the office distractions. And then it's better to then socialize at the end of the day with your partner or your family or your friends, evening activities like yoga classes, things like that. And the great news is that the time that you saved because you didn't have to do an office commute, you can take that time for having those social events and that interaction with your loved ones or your friends or your community involvement. So there's a plethora of benefits of working from home. So those are the 5 keys to success for remote workers. And I just want to remind you that the transition to working remotely, it's full of opportunities for learning and growth. It can be really challenging, but ultimately the benefits outweigh those challenges. And yes, there are some meetings that are better held in person, and we should always account for those. And sometimes it is important to have those meetings, and those should be included in budgets. If you're going to have a remote team, perhaps you do want to have some in-person meetings and budget for that. But overall, organizations can really provide their teams far more flexibility, freedom, and happiness by offering them permanent remote work options. And in the end, it's a win-win-win for employers, their teams, and our communities. So I'm going to be sending out some training materials soon that you are more than welcome to take part of. And all you have to do is sign up for my newsletter. You can go to meredithturney.com and sign up for my newsletter. And then I'll make sure you have access to my trainings and materials. But for now, I wish you success in your working remote from home. Bye.